eastern Himalayas, nurturing an ancient region, an intermingling of traditions and faiths. It's one of India's lesser-known regions, unexplored, remote and exotic for most. But times are changing. As a filmmaker, I have always wanted to explore the northeast of India. I'm here on a journey of discovery, an exploration through India's Misty Mountains. The Hollongopar sanctuary is a protected home for India's only ape, the Hollog gibbon. "300 kilometers from Guwahati and a short drive from Jorhat, the sanctuary is a hiker's paradise. Once a large evergreen forest that stretched all the way to the mountains in Burma. Today, it is reduced to a small island of just 20 square kilometers. An isolated patch surrounded by tea gardens. But I was surprised to find out that it still holds 7 different species of primates in its canopies, and all 7 in such a small area. The forest officer here have much to manage, and I'm going to meet Devinder Suman, the DFO, to find out how they have succeeded in creating this small forest into a tourist hub. This 20 square kilometer of oasis is a paradise. How did it get its name?
Hollong is a state tree of Assam. Since it is a dominant species here in this forest, so that's why it is Hollongopar Gibbon Sanctuary. And gibbon is a main attraction among tourists. And there are different tree species. Like some tree species are for resting, and some are for feeding, some are for basking. So we have multiple canopy layers here, and that makes a perfect habitat for Hollong gibbons.
It's a wonderful place for sighting the Hollog. We had an amazing sighting in the morning, but surrounded by the tea gardens with a sizable amount of leopards and elephants. What are your challenges?
The biggest challenge we have here is isolation of habitat. Since it's a fragmented habitat, as you said, it is 20 odd square kilometer, but it is not sufficient for this teeming population, because we have got 7 species of primates, population of which is increasing. We have 48 elephants, resident population which stays in the sanctuary. So we have issues with the neighboring tea gardens. We are surrounded by certain villages. We have got a healthy population here in such a small area. We have 23 families, but our only issue is railway track is passing through our sanctuary. It is cutting off one of the compartment from the rest of the sanctuary area. So basically it is an isolation of habitat, and we are just challenged with that aspect, how we are going to hold this population in such a small area. The tea gardens were created by denuding the forests. Out of forest areas, they converted certain patches to tea gardens. But on the eastern side of the sanctuary, if we go towards this side, just 5 kilometers away, we have our 3 reserve forests. So if we are able to establish that connect between reserve forests and sanctuary, maybe by incorporating it as a corridor or such kind of instrument. So this contiguity we will be able to ensure so that this wildlife can flow from one habitat to another.
So I think there is a need for the governments and the other agencies, states to look at this factor, which will give us a toehold to survival.
That is the only way through which we can ensure long-term survival of all these species we have here. So if we are able to establish that connect again, so I think our future generation can see these species surviving. We are going to establish good canopy in those areas, like those are open forests, scrub forests, like on the fringes of this sanctuary. We are constantly making efforts that somehow we are able to establish that connect. So because of these plantations over the years, we are able to see that this natural canopy connect is getting established. We could see movement of gibbon from this side of the sanctuary to that cut-off compartment. So we are seeing hope in that.
So a natural canopy, the
Yes.
forest is joining itself.
Yes.
Was this forest always like this, so vibrant? And it got restored after independence. Is it true?
This forest during British period, like as in most of the forest areas, they were into production forestry. They used to harvest timber and for industrial purpose and other. And with the change of dispensation, when we had in early 1900s, like at that time we were like without tree cover. As you can see now, we have at least 3-4 canopies, 3-4 layers of like a rainforest. But during British period, whole this forest was gone. Then 1910-20s, they started plantations, and this forest is wholly regenerated one. It's man-made forest, you can say.
That's so tremendous. I think the credit goes to the forest department, of course to the government for rejuvenating and restoring the forest.
Yes, the credit goes to the foot soldiers and local communities who have that sense of belonging, that this belongs to us and we have to take care of it. If all stakeholders are working with the same objective, I don't see like getting those long-term solutions. It is not a distant dream.
Diganta Gogoi is a homestay owner who knows the forest well and takes guests on hikes through the sanctuary. Not only to look for the gibbons, but also to showcase the tinier details that tourists often miss.
गिवन होमस्टे मैं 2014 में शुरू किया था। पहले मेरा फ़ोटोग्राफी में इंटरेस्ट था, उसके बाद गिवन में देखा कोई रहने का ढंग का कोई नहीं था, तो इसीलिए मैं 2014 में ये शुरू किया। एक साल में 250 से 300 गेस्ट आ जाता है। मेनली मैं उन लोगों को गिबन में लेके जाता हूँ, गिबन दिखाता हूँ। ये हम लोग का मेन ट्रेल है, यहाँ से गेस्ट को मेनली लेके आते हैं क्योंकि गिबन होने का चांसेस इस ट्रेल में ज़्यादा है। ये टोटल ट्रेल 1.5 किलोमीटर है। ऑर्किड्स करीब 13 स्पीसीज़ है अलग अलग। ये जो पौधा है ये मेडिसिनल प्लांट है, इसका जड़ हेपेटाइटिस में काम करता है। स्टिक इंसेक्ट इतना कैमोफ्लेज है, कोई पकड़ नहीं पाएगा। देखिए ना, नेचर का क्या मतलब ये है, नेचर का कुदरत है। लगता है कि फुल कैमोफ्लेज है। ये नाला है एक्चुअली, वो आगे से क्रॉस करके इस तरफ आता है और हाथी कभी कभी यहाँ पे पानी पी लेता है। ट्रेल पे आप अगर आपका बर्ड्स पे इंटरेस्ट है तो सुबह जल्दी आएंगे तो बर्ड्स दिख सकता है। दोपहर को बाकी जो मेकाक है, मंकीज है लाइक स्टाम्पटेल मेकाक, पिकटेल मेकाक, कैप लैंगूर, ये सब आसानी से आपको मिल सकता है इस ट्रेल पे।
The Mahabhav cruise ship is one of the few river cruises available in India. A luxurious way to experience Assamese culture and on one of India's widest river, the Brahmaputra.
Many people in India are not aware of cruises as such. And cruising is not a very regular event in the life of an Indian, though it's an amazing way of traveling because it's your room that takes you to your destination. Brahmaputra is not a river where just tourists come. A person has to be a well-traveled person or a person with an exploratory heart. So the river is pristine and tranquil. There are thousands of sandbars, and so it's just water and sand everywhere. This river is not like any other river in the world. It is the only river that offers you elephant safari, jeep safari and a boat safari. Not many rivers in the world would be able to do that. Plus it's a river that runs through the entire state of Assam, and the cultural value that it adds to the whole destination is amazing. So we sail from Guwahati, that is Pandu Port, and then we go all the way to Silghat. On the way we visit villages. We anchor at Silghat, then we drive to Kaziranga. As we proceed towards the northern part of Assam, that is towards Jorhat, you see that the people have huge boats, and the houses that are there are all bamboo mats. Assam itself has 32 different tribes, or perhaps more, even the sub-tribes that are there, and so that makes it very, very unique. So as we proceed, we will be visiting the Mishing people. Mishing, Mi is water and Shing is man. So the people of this water. And then when you go to Majuli, you come across the Neo-Vaishnavism culture. So it's very interesting that so many different types of people live all along the river. All our excursions are mostly, you have the soft adventure, and then rest is all luxury. This is one of the very few ships amongst the river cruises of the world that actually has a swimming pool. And it's a comfortable size swimming pool where you can actually swim. You can do a few laps. It's not a jacuzzi. And then of course we have a restaurant that caters to about 52 people. And there are 2 suites, 9 cabins with balcony, and there are 12 cabins without balcony. But all the cabins have picture windows, so everyone can be comfortable. We have great open spaces. The public space is very large on this ship. Our ship is the first ship, I think, in the whole of India where we have complete facilities of treating the grey water, and then we are very, very careful that no plastic, no dirt is thrown into the river. The guests who are on our boat are very conscious of it, and we as people who run the cruise are very interested in keeping the river as pristine as possible. I think people in India, we don't know about Northeast. We haven't even given it a thought. It's time we looked at it. Come and see what it is, what it's all about. And it's our own country. Come to this part of India and make it a thriving tourist destination.
I'm Rohtam Gautam. I'm a spoken word poet and a arts and cultural facilitator. The East India Poets is an independent art collective. We basically promote independent art in Northeast India and both in Guwahati. I love the idea of people coming together and doing things. On top of that, if we add art to it, I think that idea becomes just more amazing. The art scene in Guwahati is still very young, and spoken word poetry, the medium that I choose as my medium of expression, was still very young. Actually, nobody was really doing it in Guwahati. Spoken word poetry is that it's really powerful in the sense that it's very closer to the audience. So when you perform it, you have the audience feels it in the way that it's very impactful. So when I started the art collective, there weren't many collectives or art events, so as to say, happening around in the city. 2 years later, right now, there are 4 or 5 art collectives coming up in different parts of the city. Basically, the idea was to build a community of individuals that are really passionate about art. So now, we have over 35 artists using different mediums of expression as part of the collective here. Guwahati as a city, if you look into it, so there aren't many places you could hang out or call a safe space to talk about things that really matter to you. So there is this need of talking and building spaces, making communities, so as to say, right? So I think art is the best form of building communities, and hence the need to do it. We have a large community in Guwahati, and a lot of people come to our events and projects. So apart from that, we also try and reach out to other cities as well. So we've also gone to Shillong and we've performed in Arunachal Literary Festival to perform, and we have covered a lot of colleges and schools in Assam as a whole.
And this is inspired from a true story, alright? And that true story is mine. And this poem, to perform this poem, probably it would take a lot out from me. But guess what? I'm going to do it for you guys.
It brings the city together. In a city where everything is so disorganized and people are leading very different lives, I think this sort of a thing is relatable to everybody, and it brings people together. Guwahati is a beautiful place if you explore it through altitudes, because this city is called the City of 7 Hills. So if you look around, there are hills everywhere. Like the Kamakha temple is on the Nilachal hill. If you go to a different hill, you'll always find a different view to it. So there is no particular viewpoint where you can view all the city. It's always a different angle, and it's always a different perspective to the whole city. There are a lot of misconceptions in the other parts of the country about Assam and the Northeast. So I like to say that it's not really the land of forest and like people wearing grass and all those things that are there out there. It's about people who are really welcoming and I think are inherently interested and passionate about art, literature and culture in general. There's a lot of literature and art in the Northeast, but the narrative has always been about the one-horned rhino or the tribes, but we need to explore more in terms of what is actually there instead of exoticizing everything. Like right now we're in Guwahati, which is a thriving metropolitan, right? And if you move away from the city, it becomes a very scenic environment, so as to say. So yeah, you can quickly explore a lot given the whole like its diversity in terms of landscapes and the people and the cultures. It's a journey in itself, being in the Northeast or being in Assam.
I'm driving to a very special place today. The first organic seed production and seed bank in Northeast India, supporting small-scale and marginal farmers to reconnect with their ancient agricultural practices.
So last year we had around 6,000 farmers all across Northeast to come and see what we do, when they come and learn and they try to replicate it,
I'm very happy to see the farmers coming in, learning and taking back a piece of knowledge with them. Manas is a success story from a disturbed area just a few years ago.
Yes.
Everything has become okay.
44,000 tourists have come last year, and this year we are expecting more than that.
If you see today's stats, so there are equal number of tourists traveling to each state as people are traveling to Sikkim. So I think the mentality towards Northeast has immensely changed. We are very much a hotspot, but not explored enough.